how to even decide them. Okay, there are things that I want to do, I'm interested in, I may not be good at them. The things that I'm good at, maybe I don't want to do them. And then there are things that society wants me to do.
Like a series called The Crown, which was about the royal family.
Oh, so I have. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. I was wondering why I was here, because I was seeing disappointment in all parts of life.
There. Then again, this thirst comes up again. I'm looking for something more and something more. What is a hangover? So basically, I'm a monk right now. I'm staying at a monastery, at a basement of a temple most of the times. And I have been a UX designer. I have trained new hires at a corporate setup for sales. Try different things, right? I'm also personally pretty good at cooking, I believe so.
Yeah, we've tried your cooking, so it's pretty good. Yeah, we know that.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know much, but there are people who are additionally good at music and whatnot. This guy will tell you he's awesome at political science and like concepts of history and those kind of things.
Well, that's my field of study right now. So
at U of T.
At University of Toronto, here downtown. And Vishesh has also been showing keen interest in the university as well.
Yeah. Sure, it's good university, boo boo. I mean, yay. What I'm trying to say is
that it's one of the best in Canada.
One of the best in the world.
Yes.
But that's not the point is that I have so many of things to do in my life and so many interests and things that I'm good at and I suck at, but I want to do those. Like I'm not a good guitar player or any player for that matter when it comes to instruments, but I want to. That's so cool to be able to play that, Well,
that's true. Yeah, actually, when I speak to most of my friends as well, Vishesh, back in university, I also see this sort of confusion with everyone because there are a lot of people around me of my age who are doing things just because either their parents told them to do it or under peer pressure because everyone else is doing it, or basically just because they saw it in a video that they should be doing it, or because of financial disadvantages or economical situations happening around the world, they thought that's the right decision to go to, but now are regretting that kind of life, right?
So let's narrow it down now. So we're basically gossiping about what to do in life. Because we all have personal interests, things that we want to do, and things that we're good at, by the way, that we cannot ignore. There's some things which we're individually good at. No one's there in the world who doesn't know how to do anything. But that thing may not be a thing they're very particularly interested at, right? I might be good at something related to communication, which I am, which is very boring. But I don't like to do it, but I've been told I'm somewhat good. Now, what do I do? And what about career prospects? Because you don't just have to see your interests, but also the economy overall. A person can be phenomenally good at joining paper clips together, right? Like they could do it in a flash second, but then there is no market out there for such a skill where it could be used to generate any money. So this person may not be employed on the basis of it. So how do you make career choices versus hobby choices? And then if you're doing what you don't want to do, even if you're good at it, at the end of the day, you're not satisfied, right? How do you mitigate all those challenges? This is a very important area.
It is an important area. Actually, I was having a discussion with one of my friends yesterday after being here in Canada for quite some time and doing a degree and but not getting a job in his field. And he was wondering, why did I do this kind of diploma or degree that I did? Because my skill sets are in a different field. And he was more oriented towards the arts, towards humanities. He's very good at teaching. He has musical inclination, and he felt that if he would have taken that long ago when he started off, he would have been somewhere else and not been struggling like this. So such kind of situations do arise with a lot of people, and this is not only for youth-based or let's say at a certain age limit. This can happen at any point of time. Such existential crises can happen at any point of time where there are so many people who are just fed up of their job because although they've been doing well, they are CEOs, presidents of different firms, but they do not know why they're there and why they're doing this job, or what is the reason behind them just running like that, rats around everywhere, or like dogs and cats, just.
There's this very popular video on the internet which is about rat race. I think many people
the rat race, exactly. So, this rat race that's continuously going on is kind of starting to become very questionable for a lot of people. Especially, I was having this conversation with my mother, who comes from a different generation, and I call them the rat racers because they were taught to be, part of that rat race.
They have to do it too, to make houses and whatnot.
And which was her point, right? Yeah. That we should, why not do this? Because, if you want to do something good in life, if you want to actually go ahead and pursue a hobby, you need to have a financial base for that, which is a very valid point. But then at least you need to know the goal for that, right? You are working like a donkey, like a rat in the rat race, like ants, right? But the main thing is that if you don't know what you actually want to do ahead with that money or with that effort that you've put in, then how are you actually going to work towards that? And you will always be demotivated in all stages of life, right?
That is true. So essentially, it seems like, and feel free to disagree, is that the problem seems to be a lack of purpose. That if someone is doing something in their lives, maybe engaged in whatever kind of activity, that might be going well or may not be, but if they're not connected to a larger purpose with that specific task, with that job or whatever, then they feel a certain emptiness and this question of why am I even doing it in the first place.
Yeah, and that can happen a lot actually. That happened with me as well. In my first year of university life, I was wondering why I was here, because I was seeing disappointment in all parts of life. I was also seeing this kind of unwillingness to actually go for classes or actually do that thing or actually pursue a certain kind of field which I didn't want to do, and I was recommended to do that. So that's something that definitely happens at certain point of time, and that happens where people just keep it inside. There's no way of actually releasing it out, or even with friends for that matter, right? Because we all are so, even friend structure in society is so money oriented, and it's so, because people want to find the best job, they want to have the best life. Everyone has a similar goal, which is to, of course, mint money, and nobody actually, in friend groups as well, nobody actually talks about how is life going, are you actually enjoying what you're doing or not.
Can be a little tricky, especially if you don't find supportive friends who are encouraging you in that direction. And who are not willing to listen to about your problems, really. Because we notice when people, even these so-called very good 9-to-5 working people, when they have their own added responsibilities, they get married, they have their family, and that's fair enough, like you get busy there, and then you hit your own midlife crisis because you've only done your work for the sake of doing it and having a family. But after living that for a while, you also realize that, well, this is not quite where I was eating satisfaction from, because it's not so much coming. There's momentary satisfaction coming here and there. Then again, this thirst comes up again. I'm looking for something more and something more and something more.
That's true.
So what is it that one is looking ultimately for? And as I was reading about it in Bhagavad Gita, it's a spiritual thirst, essentially. So it is only quenched when one gets to that spiritual platform. But then, quite funnily and interestingly, it is said that if you get to that platform, then what you're doing becomes irrelevant, because that's more like a role that you're playing in the society. And you do it because you're happy anyway, you do it out of happiness. And then you go back to your spiritual practices to find your real satisfaction from, because that's where it comes from. But that's very spiritual. And not everyone may immediately be able to get to it. What do I do is the question. Who is interested in a few things, and then their society is interested in other things, which is why they're pressurizing me into taking a specific career choice. But I want to do something else, and I want to do something else, but I'm not really good at it. So I know I need a few good months or years to work on it. For example, music in my case, but I may not have enough time. I may lose out on my career, or things that I'm actually good at. They may become soils. How do you make those choices? What do you think? Like, do you have anything to add to it?
So the Bhagavad Gita talks about the system of varnashrama, which is very interesting, because a lot of people in today's world have a very differing opinion of this system of thought. The Varna Shrama, as spoken and given in various books, especially the Bhagavad Gita, is a system of not classification, but a system of attesting or connecting yourself with certain attributes and traits that helps you and pushes you towards a certain job path or a certain occupation that you would like to do in the future. And not only occupation, it's all about the mindset that you are born with or you develop in this process, and how you connect with that kind of mindset as well. There's this book, there's a very famous speaker, her name is Urmila Devidasi, and she speaks about Varnashrama in a very different context, and she talks more about this, where she mentions about how career, her book is called Career Dharma, which can be used, and this entire system of Varna and Ashrama can be used to actually identify your career path for especially students getting into college life.
Interesting.
Like a psychometric test, or so, if you have done it before. Everyone, if you've been to a college counselor and you have done those kind of tests before, you pay millions, not millions, let's say tens and thousands of dollars just to get a test done to understand what's your career path. And even in the end, you don't know what it is. But many of such ancient scriptures, or even not only ancient, but these scriptures are contemporarily also very applicable in this contemporary life. Already have your psychometric test, to make sure and to guide you to this sort of life as well.
So, side note, if this psychometric person, this career professional would actually charge $1 million, I want to be that.
Yes, you should. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just kidding. So what you're talking about, varnashrama dharma. This comes from over 5,000 years back from scriptures. Yeah. And they're talking about a system in society where pretty much everyone's supposed to go through different stages in their life. I'm just trying to bring it up so for everyone's clarity. So first stage is Balya Avastha, is Bala Ashram.
Brahmachari.
Even prior to that.
Oh yes, correct, of course.
You are not born a Brahmachari, not everyone.
Not everyone's born a Brahmachari.
So Balya Avastha literally means the age of childhood.
Age of childhood.
So that's where your responsibility is to just eat, play, grow up, have your mind and body be exercised to a great extent.
Stay in your mother's affection.
Stay in your mother's affection. It's very important to have that paternal and maternal affection.
Yes.
And then next stage kicks in, which is called Brahmacharya Ashrama, or the stage of monkhood. There's no appropriate English word.
Well, you could call it student life as well. Where
student life.
One is a student of, this is a student. So that's how your mentality is, that you are submissive.
But the essential difference that should be noted here with the student life that we have at our universities, for example, is that when students go to university, they want to do everything, not just study. Correct. They want to indulge in a lot of sexuality, they want to drink, get high, go to movie concerts, and all of that is fine. Everyone wants to enjoy at the end of the day, even those people who created these systems.
Yeah.
But it's very distinct because Brahmacharya Ashrama is about also a sense of austerity.
Yes.
That you don't immediately indulge in these pleasures of life. Right now is a stage for you to grow, for you to learn, for you to build a very proper context of your life. So when you transition into the next stage of your life, which is grihastha ashrama, or pretty much like married life or householder life, that's where you're able to indulge in those pleasure activities, but in a right context, in a regulated way. So you're able to not only enjoy it, but also not be carried away into an empty space where you're even left wondering at times that why am I even in here, right? Why do I even exist? And you don't have this sense of helplessness and hopelessness in you because you've done everything in a very regulated way.
Yeah. I wanted to add about regulation. Now, a lot of people do not enjoy the word regulation of sorts because, of course, especially starting from the 1960s and Vietnam War and people going against culture, against, just wanting to let go of all ties and just, remove all borders, barriers.
Absolutely.
So regulation...
The hippie movement.
Yes, the hippie movement. So the regulation, what we are talking about, is the basic tenets of human life. Human life is regulation, right? Unless if you were not regulated, then there wouldn't be much difference in the entire system, right?
You'd be an animal.
We'd be an animal, right? And of course, being an animal is not bad. Animals also have this sort of structure and emotional life, but this is what distinguishes us from the rest of nature, that we are regulated in certain ways. And that's why, especially for student life or monkhood, as we spoke about, this basis of regulation and this regulated atmosphere in which we learn essential skills of life, where we build up our memory, our abilities, and in this sort of regulated environment then helps us move forward into life where we are actually jumping into the ocean, right?
Yes.
Especially if grihastha life or life forward ahead, where we'll be working or we'll be having kids, those kind of responsibilities then come into our life as well.
You're right, and that's very important to mention because often people feel regulation means restriction. Well, that is not so. Regulation actually means freedom if you look at it deeply, because you take pizzas, which most students love, most youngsters love. So do I.
Yeah.
And if you eat two big, large pizzas in entirety, are you then enjoying? Or are you there sitting with a stomach which is paining and aching? Right, so there is a regulation inherently in nature to everything. Exactly. When you indulge overly in anything, at that moment it may feel like a lot of sense gratification or a lot of enjoyment and pleasure seeking, but it hits back you in a really bad way. Who doesn't know what happens the next morning when you drink a lot? What was that word?
Drink a lot.
When you drink a lot in the night and the next morning you
have a hangover.
Hangover, right? What is a hangover? Right? You could not have your party in a regulated way. Yeah. So. Hey, but I'm not even saying that you drink in a regulated way and you'll be fine, right? That's a different matter. Intoxicants is actually you dumbing your senses. It's not even a smart way to seek pleasure when there's so many spiritual tools and practices available. Yeah, but anyway, because prior to starting these spiritual practices, I had my fair indulgence. I was never addicted, but I did try alcohol because when I would go to school, they seemed to be having fun, so I was like, might as well have it.
Yeah.
So you have to be very honest to yourself. But it's not very difficult. It's very simple to admit that even after one shot, I am still drinking it because either others are or there was some fun and I want to get more out of it and more out of it and more out of it, and it never quite stops. And then at the end of it, you're just staring at this empty, hollow corner of a room thinking, what and you're bored for many moments in there. Trust me, partying among those disco lights and all these nightclubs with so many girls or guys, whoever you're interested around you, and practically most of them half naked, with all these intoxicants in your blood and rushing in. There are moments where you feel like, what the F?
Yeah.
Or that I'm bored. And then why am I even doing this? So even if there, in so much of sensation, this activity of exaggerated sensations and movements, you could feel such way, then you could feel that everywhere. I think that's just a human predicament. Yeah. But that sort of empty space encourages you to seek more value in what you're doing and establishes a sense of purpose and context.
And if you're feeling that right now, you're at the right place.
You're at the right place. Who isn't feeling like?
Exactly.
One just has to be honest enough to admit it.
That's true.
But it's a scary space, so people run away from it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at the life of a lot of rich people as well, right? You know, I used to watch this Netflix series called The Crown, which was about the royal family.
Oh, so I have. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, we gotta watch it again. But so The Crown, you know, I was looking at the life of, you know, the filthy rich royal family.
I got into it before you proceed. Is because the guy who played, I think, Prince Charles in there,
Charles, yes.
It was the guy who played Princess's husband in what is the precursor of Game of Thrones? The House of Dragons.
The House of Dragons.
House of Dragons with its Queen Rhaenyra or Rhaenyra, whatever her name was, I don't know. But she's pretty cool in the series. But her husband, who wanted to be the king but couldn't be and ended up becoming the husband of the queen, was also casted as the husband of the queen in The Crowns. So
okay.
That's what happened, right?
Yeah.
Prince Charles wasn't the king.
I haven't watched House of Dragons and Game of Thrones, but yeah, correct.
Prince Charles was Prince Charles, the son of the queen.
Yeah.
So he didn't play Prince Charles. I'm sorry.
Oh,
he plays. I don't remember the character's name, but actually Queen Elizabeth II's husband, basically.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah. Prince Philip.
Philip, or as she would say, Philippe.
Philip.
And then she would be like this. She's one of my favorite actors. But anyway.
So coming back to that, right? You know,
yes, sorry.
They've been generationally filthy rich, right? At one point of time, yeah. But the thing was that you see how bored all of them were. Especially one character that stood out to me was Princess Margaret, who was the Queen's sister. Yeah. Right? Because especially when royal duties were taken away from her and given to Prince Anne, who was the Queen's daughter, she felt even more bored. And because, of course, Prince Margaret at one point of time was even more beautiful, and she, till the end, was more beautiful than Queen Elizabeth. But she wasn't receiving the same sort of pomp and honor. And in fact, in the series all talks about how the roles could be switched, and Princess Margaret could be the queen, and Princess Elizabeth could be just a princess. Queen Elizabeth could be just a princess, right? So, but that boredom is yet there, you know. So in every stage of life, there's always that boredom that comes in. Either if you're very poor, doing, Uber deliveries are not for poor people, but just like Uber deliveries to compare to, you know, being the richest person on earth, being Elon Musk or whoever that person is.
When you start to act in a regulated way, what you try to get to is what is called a samdarshana, or samdarshana is an equal vision that you see everyone differently, but a sense of, I don't know what's the technical word for it, or traditional word for it, like a samasthiti.
Yes, you are in a balanced state, yeah, in equilibrium.
In equilibrium, more so. It's not that it becomes boring, it doesn't. It becomes actually very joyful. And there is a tendency, the society has encouraged us to believe that when we're in the polar end of this spectrum of sanity, either we're totally insane or we're totally lost in our own thoughts, is when we have any meaning to our life or any sane sense of entertainment. But anything in between is boredom. It is not true. Right in the middle is samasthiti, equilibrium and balance. And that's where genuine fun lies. Exactly. You have to try it to be able to see it.
Yeah.
So I'm not complaining about little boredom that I have in my life. There is 99% of excitement more than boredom. Going back to original discussion piece, and all of it's very related, is that how to even decide them. Okay, there are things that I want to do, I'm interested in, I may not be good at them. The things that I'm good at, maybe I don't want to do them. And then there are things that society wants me to do, like in India in particular, or my parents, like become an engineer. If not a doctor, like those things are not even close together. But then the point is that how do you make that choice? And what we seem to be discussing is that, we'll come to that later, how do you make a choice, but first thing is you do it in a regulated fashion. Yeah. You do it with a sense of context and purpose, and perhaps out of some guidance from scriptures, books like Bhagavad Gita, because they help to establish that context. And then no matter what you're doing, you'll do it a little more satisfactorily. Now, how do you pick? You take guidance from those who seem to be more knowledgeable than you are. They're mentors, they're gurus, they're guides. They can give you a lot of details about your own self. Your close friends, they know you like anything. But at the end of the day, there's always a lot of value in trying. Yeah. And I've often noticed that the biggest of success seemed to come from people who kept on trying after the same thing and did not deviate much from their goal. And they reach the success today or tomorrow, sooner or later.
True that.
So, if you keep changing direction here and there, one of the examples that I can probably use to understand it is that if you want to get water from underground, if you start to dig a well here, and if you're getting tired or getting bored, oh, that location looks better, and you go and you start to dig a well there, and then you want to change it to another place, and you start to dig well there. Will you ever get to the water which is underground?
No.
Perhaps never.
Never.
Right? Then it becomes all a matter of luck.
Exactly.
And that's where people are living by luck.
Yeah. Eventually, I've seen for people who do not have the sense of purpose, and are just confused, they tend to just be based on luck. Exams, are you studying for it? I'm not going to study. I'm just going to study one night before, and maybe out of luck I might pass.
And then they create these philosophies like "Koi sera sera," or what's that? It will pass. This will also pass.
Exactly. This will also pass.
And that goes across as a very deep philosophy. No offense. I mean, that's a good thing to follow.
Well, luck is there. There are some aspects which we will discuss later in a different podcast, but not today. It's too much for today. But again, right? If you try hard, one day even luck surpasses that. Because it's your effort that matters in the end of the day, and that is what it's all about, right? Even let's say things are not working out for you, maybe you need to look at that same situation in a different perspective. That's the main thing. But do not stop trying, or just don't go like in different places, or be a jack of. Not everyone can be a jack of all trades. I don't know who this jack is, but
at least not immediately. After a while.
Yeah, exactly.
How do we sign this off?
Pizza party. # pizza party.
#
pizza podcast.
Party. Okay, let's go have pizza.
Okay.
Okay.
Podcast? What is that?